Hey kids, today's lesson is on how to create an outline for your 8th grade presentation. Some of you guys, this is going to be brand new to you, and that's okay. Some of you maybe have done a little bit of it before, but I'm going to walk you through the steps and you should be able to get it in a snap. So the task is, you've done all this research, you've taken all these awesome notes, you have tons of information, and now you have to put all that into an organized speech. Well, the outline is going to help you do that. It may sound difficult, but fortunately, I got your back. The outline is all about organizing. An organization is something you do before you do something, so when you do it, it doesn't get all mixed up. So this is the last thing you're going to do before you actually start writing your speech, and it's going to make writing your speech so much easier. Okay, let's review where we are right now. You've done a bunch of research. You've got all this research on note cards, right? Spent a lot of time taking notes, getting lots of facts. Then, as you create a mind map. Mind map is kind of organizing all this information and showing how it all kind of breaks down and fits together in a real graphic, visual way. The next step is to create an outline. It goes from this to this to this. What we're doing is we're taking all of this information that you already researched and we're saying which order it's going to go in and which information fits with which information, and it's going to break it all down in a really neat, orderly way.
An outline is like a skeleton.
It's the bare bone of your speech.
You can hang the meat on it later.
High five.
To do this right, you have to learn MLA format. MLA means Modern Language Association. Those guys are your friend because they make sure that everything is standardized so you don't have to learn the same thing 5 different ways from 5 different teachers. To start off with, give your outline a title. That's the title of your presentation. From here you start breaking down your information, starting with Roman numerals followed by a period. From there you go to uppercase letters, also followed by a period. And from there you go to Arabic numbers, followed by periods. And from there you go to lowercase letters, followed by periods. I want you to notice here that when you break something down, you have to have at least 2 parts. You can't divide one thing into only one thing. So if there's a 1, you have to have a 2. If there's an A, you have to have a B. You see how there's an A here? Well, there needs to be a B if there's going to be an A. There we go. Now if you want to break it down even further from there, and some of you might need to do that, you would go to Arabic numbers followed by parentheses, like so. So there you have it, a quick introduction to MLA outline format. These are outlines from former 8th grade speeches that were done correctly. So this is kind of what it's going to look like when we're all done. Okay, this is how this packet page is going to help you out. This is basically a template for your 8th grade speech. It's going to be a lot like any outline that you're going to do for any paper in school, but this one's really specific to this particular assignment. First of all, you'll notice that it's divided into 3 main parts, Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3. Introduction, body, and conclusion. Pretty much any essay or speech is going to be divided up into an intro, body, and conclusion. Your introduction is divided into 4 parts. The hook, background information, why you chose your topic, and your thesis statement. The body is going to be divided into 3 parts. Your subtopic 1, your subtopic 2, and your subtopic 3. Now each of these subtopics are going to be divided up as well, and that depends on how many facts you have, how much information you have. Each one will be a little bit different. And then your conclusion for your 8th grade presentation is going to have 3 parts. You're going to sum up your main points, kind of tell us what you just told us. You're going to draw some final conclusions, which is where you say what the point of all this is and why it's interesting to learn about, and you're going to show your passion about your subject in this part. And then finally you're going to end with a powerful sentence we call a clincher sentence. So you're going to use this page every time you're working on your outline because it's kind of the template and what I want to see. Let's check out this outline on the history of motocross as an example. As you can see, we started with the Roman numeral 1 introduction. Capital letter A, hook. He's got his hook kind of roughed out right there. B, background, which basically gives sort of a dictionary definition of what your topic is. C, why he chose his topic. And D, that thesis, which again is your topic plus your position plus your projected plan. Then Roman numeral 2, the body. Subtopic 1. His subtopic 1 was about the first motocross race. This is all of his information broken down neatly about the first motocross race. His subtopic 2 is about how motocross has evolved. And on page 2, that's broken down like so. And you can see all the levels and all the indenting is perfectly good. Indenting is very important. Subtopic 3 is about the greatest riders in motocross history, and that's also broken down very neatly. On to the last page. And Roman numeral 3, the conclusion, where A, he sums up his main points, basically relisting his subtopics. B, his final thoughts on motocross and why it's important and why it's cool to learn about. And a clincher to end the whole thing off. To show you how to do all this, we're going to go back to our buddy Matt and also Tam. I think it's best to do this in Google Drive. That's what we're probably going to be doing in class. That way it's saved in a universal location and you can work on it at home and at school. One of the things I want to make sure you all know how to do is to tab in. You don't want to use the space bar to indent. You always want to use the tab. So no space bar, hit return, and that's going to show you how to do that on Google. Hit paragraph and the little tab key. That's going to tab everything in nice and neatly the same way. And then you're just going to start typing that thing out the best you can at this point. Be sure you use proper MLA format. That's really important. Okay, here's a couple other things I want you to make sure you avoid. Be careful to avoid indenting mistakes like this. See how this goes out there? This needs to be in at this level with everything else. That's a pretty common mistake. Another mistake is dividing something into only one thing. See, he's got one, he divided it into an A. If there's an A, there has to be a B. If there's a 1, there has to be a 2. So this is a mistake. You can't divide something into only one thing.
Here, Matt, try dividing this into 1.
Another important thing is you don't use very many complete sentences in an outline. You mostly just put labels or abbreviations like that. You're not going to use complete sentences really until you actually start drafting. The exception is I do want your thesis, I want that to be a complete sentence, and I do want the first sentence of your subtopics with a transition like that. And that's just something that I like you to do for 8th grade speech. I think it makes the first draft a little bit easier, but for the most part, you're just putting down abbreviations and labels and not complete sentences. So there you have it, a video on how to do an outline for your 8th grade presentation. As usual, if you have any questions, you know where to find me.